It's usually women. They're looking at their husband and they're seeing that as he gets older, he gets meaner. And as he gets older, he gets more difficult to deal with. And they're saying, you know what? I don't know how many years I have left, but I am not dealing with this. Because they also know that if, God forbid, they get sick, they need to be taken care of. He's not doing it. She's going to be taking care of him, waiting on him hand and foot, being his nurse. But when it comes to her needing something, he's going to leave her to rot.
So this video is for all women, but specifically for my high earning, high achieving women. And that is, be very, very careful who you marry or who you have children with, because that can ruin everything that you've built.
Great divorce. Is this something you're hearing for the first time? Have you heard about it before? Is this new to you, or have you done it before? Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about the increase in gray divorces. I am hearing from divorce attorneys, and I'm also just kind of seeing it, where there are more of these marriages, these long marriages, 30, 40 years, that are breaking up. And it used to be really unheard of. You know, every once in a while you would see one or hear about one, and there was a lot of this talk, almost like sunk cost fallacy, where it's like, well, you know, you've been in it this long, like why bother even doing something different? You know, you've been married to them for 30 years. At this point, why bother? Why reinvent the wheel? But I think people who are going for these divorces, and it's usually women, they're looking at their husband and they're seeing that as he gets older, he gets meaner. And as he gets older, he gets more difficult to deal with. And they're saying, you know what? I don't know how many years I have left, but I am not dealing with this. Because they also know that if, God forbid, they get sick, they need to be taken care of. He's not doing it. She's going to be taking care of him, waiting on him hand and foot, being his nurse. But when it comes to her needing something, he's going to leave her to rot. Now, when I hear about these gray divorces, I'm like cheering these women on, because it's really obvious why they're doing it. And no, it doesn't matter how many years you've put into a person. If they start treating you like shit, or if they've always treated you like shit, and you decide that your last 5, 10, 15 years on earth are not going to be spent also being treated like shit, get out. Get out. It is better to expire alone than to expire lonely.
It is better to expire alone than to expire lonely, she said. Typically, those people 50 years old and above. It's been on the rise in recent years, and some of the common reasons for great divorces includes growing apart, financial disagreement, people wanting independence after staying together for so long. This type of divorce is interesting because it challenges the idea that older couples just stick out. It's fascinating how more women are recognizing that no amount of time invested in a marriage justifies staying in a miserable marriage. Great divorces feel like a power reclaiming autonomy and dignity for some women. These are women realizing that they don't owe anyone the rest of their lives, especially if that relationship is draining or one-sided. It's better off for you to live the rest of your life happy than staying put in that toxic environment because of the number of years you already invested in that relationship. Oftentimes, women take care of their aged sick husbands more than men do. When a woman falls sick, the husbands are most likely to abandon them. I've seen cases where people talk about how they got abandoned because they had cancer. They also spoke about how the medical professionals would advise women once they have been diagnosed of one cancer or the other that it's common for their husbands to abandon them. So when you talk about aged marriage, it benefits men more than it benefits women. Sometimes when men that are not married start getting older, they are being advised to go get married to women, younger women that would take care of them. So it's all about being taken care of. You know how men are, they see themselves as big babies to their women. So when they're getting older, they become more of that baby they've always wanted to be. And now it's the woman's responsibility to take care of him. And it's worse when that man is sick. You know, with age comes a lot of sickness. Do you get? So it's worse when that man is sick. But if the table is reversed, men don't stay there for women. They run off to look for someone else to take care of them, because they are in their head, they are looking for someone to take care of them. They are not willing to take care of anyone. So if their caretaker falls ill, it makes sense for them to abandon her, because she's of no use anymore. They will run off to someone else that will take care of them. So the question here is this: why is there increase in great divorce? Could it be due to cultural shift of financial independence? Let me know your thoughts on that in the comment section. I think the reason why they have significant increase in great divorce is because of the mind shift in the younger generation, the mind shift in the younger women. Women are realizing their potential. Women are realizing that prioritizing their happiness above everything is the best decision to make. Women are more independent than before. So to women, why should I go out there, work hard, make money, and then find myself in a relationship where I'm being maltreated? It makes no sense. So women are taking bold steps, choosing to stay by themselves and be happy. Their happiness is the most important thing to them. And I believe this mindset, this shift in mindset, is what is driving the increase in great divorce, because the older women are learning from the younger women. The younger generation is setting such a bold example by unapologetically prioritizing their happiness and independence. Longevity in marriage doesn't equate to happiness and success. Many of those long marriages were built on endurance, not joy or mutual respect. It's the suffering and smiling culture that kept so many women stuck. They were pretending everything was fine while they were carrying the weight of unhappiness in their marriage. Now, women are realizing that there's no trophy in sticking it out when you're miserable. They would rather leave the marriage and live their life authentically than keeping up appearance. It's wild how many of these perfect long marriages are just illusions. I'm not saying they don't have real one that exists. I'm not saying that long marriages don't come with happiness. I'm not saying there are no exceptions. Of course, they have exceptions, but what is common out there is suffering and smiling. Always remember, stress is a killer. It kills people. It destroys people. So don't stay put in a stressful situation, in a marriage that is stressing you out. Your peace, happiness, and health are worth far more than staying in a relationship out of obligation or fear of judgment.
So this video is for all women, but specifically for my high earning, high achieving women. And that is, be very, very careful who you marry or who you have children with, because that can ruin everything that you've built. So I'm a cardiologist. I am also an author. I have 2 books out on rotation and Between Friends and Lovers. And this is relevant because I have intellectual property and I also am a high earning woman. I have made a lot of my childhood dreams come true. I'm very happy with my life right now. But the thing I am most proud of myself for is that I recently escaped an abusive marriage. And obviously this was a very tumultuous journey for me, a very tumultuous year. However, the thing that really, really struck me as I was going through the divorce process is how little the legal system protects women like me. So when you get divorced, if you don't have a prenup, which I'll talk about in a second, all of your marital property, so everything that you earned during your marriage gets split right in the middle. And the idea is that regardless of what you earned, that somebody was sacrificing to make it possible for the other person to make income. And this structure was really put in place to protect women. So for a very long time, just in our patriarchal society, what would happen is that the man would be the breadwinner, right? And the woman would manage most of the domestic, emotional, and mental labor, would handle the child rearing. But now we live in a time where women are now doing everything. We're making money, and we are still, and this is like data driven, we are still doing the majority of the domestic labor, even in households where we are the breadwinners. So when I decided to leave my husband, who has a high earning job, by the way, but had refused to work for the last year, I found myself in a situation where I, number one, might lose half of my intellectual property, my book rights. and in one in which he could wait me out and try to ask for alimony, which is something that he threatened to do. I left him in January. I started my big cardiologist job where I got a big bump in income in August. And he was like, I will just not work and I will just wait you out and I'm going to demand alimony. When I started going through this and I started talking a little bit more openly about it, I found that I was very much not alone, that this is actually a pattern, that abusive men will target high-achieving women who are often very conscientious, very driven, have a fixist mentality, and can be very empathetic, have children with them or marry them, and then attempt to drain them dry. And people say, oh, what about a prenup? Like, you should just have a prenup. The problem with prenups is, number one, they don't ever cover any kind of child support. My ex came from a wealthy family. He had a good, well-paying job. He just refused to work. And one thing I realized is that if I had had a child with him, not only would I have had to hand over my baby to an abusive man, I also would have been paying him child support to maintain the same quality of life between our households. On top of that, while you can anticipate how you split up what you have before the marriage within the prenup, it's very difficult to anticipate what you're going to do and what you're going to make in the future. So like, for the example with me, I don't know whether I would have anticipated some of my intellectual property, and I probably would not have included that in a prenuptial agreement. My divorce attorney represents a lot of women in positions similar to mine and would frequently tell me stories about creative ways that abusive men would find ways around prenups in order to take over aspects of their businesses, their companies, etc. And I'm really encouraging her to make a social media page or a TikTok so that she can actually talk about it, because I feel like it's never talked about. I'm going to be honest, at this point, with the system that we have and the fact that 1 in 3 women are in abusive relationships, I don't even know whether it's worth it for someone like me to be married again. So be truly, truly careful out there, ladies. Like, I know I see so much content with people being like, oh, like, if you don't have a ring, if you don't get married, a lot of these people are evil. There are some evil people out here, and because of there's so much shame around it, we don't really talk about the potential impact they can have on your lives. But if you are a girl who is making your own and building your own, think very, very hard about whether you want to bring a man into that equation, because it is extremely difficult to get him out.
This is such an important topic. Let's talk about it. It's very important for us to be aware of how abusive men target high-achieving women and exploit systems to drain them dry. High-achieving women are indeed at risk because there are men who actively seek out successful women to latch onto and drain them financially. It's such a manipulative tactic. I've said before in previous videos that men have been told that they are the ones that are supposed to be wealthy, they are the ones that are supposed to be successful, women are their subordinates. So when men see successful women, they feel triggered. They feel like it's their responsibility to take that wealth away from that woman, to take her success away from her. They believe that the woman's success is theirs. They are entitled. So you often see broke men or lazy men or greedy men go after successful women and use them as a ladder to enrich themselves, use them as a ladder to get better in life. It's incredibly important for modern women to think ahead and protect themselves, because these days women are making the money, women are working hard. Let's talk about prenup. Like she said, prenup was set up to protect women in those days where we had women doing full stay-at-home job. They stay home and they take care of the family, and then they have the men going out there to work. It makes sense for them to split their income, to split the properties, because that woman was home working by taking care of the home and the children, because if she had not done that, she wouldn't have created that room for that man to go out there and excel at his career. So it made sense. But right now things have changed. Women are still doing the whole household job. They are still managing the home and still going out there to earn their own money. But what are men doing? Most men these days are becoming lazy. They are not assisting at home and they don't want to make the money. So because they're not lazy, they're out there looking for successful women that they can get into relationships with and then break up the relationship and get part of their property. That's what men are doing. So women, we need to be aware, we need to be smart. And with prenups, of course, they are very important. If you're wealthy, if you're working hard, you don't even need to be wealthy to consider prenup. Prenup should never just cover what you have right now. It should include provision for what you might accumulate in the future as well, especially considering the unpredictable nature of life and relationship. You might not have a lot today you might have a lot tomorrow, if you get what I mean. Women should not feel pressured to overlook the precautions just because they trust their partner at that point in time. Love is no guarantee, and things can change unexpectedly. There is this trend that has been going on for years. This is what Nigerian men do, those that are based in the US. They understand that the nursing career is lucrative. Most of them would go back home, marry a girl from the village. Before they go back home, they would tell her to go study nursing or have a degree. Then they will move her over to the US and they use her as a money-making machine. When they move her over to the US, they enroll her into nursing, make sure she becomes a nurse, and then they start milking her. She becomes a money-making machine. You will have women working overtime to make money, and when they make the money, they hand it over to their husbands. Because remember, you're coming from Nigeria, a different system. It takes time for the nurses, the women they've moved over, to realize what those men are all about. They don't want to do nursing. They don't want to put in the work. They'll go look for women that they will use to achieve their dreams. It's the same thing. It's either they marry someone and push the person towards that direction so they can make money off it, or they look for women that are already there and then they propose to them. When I went to the comment section, someone did say that they noticed a trend of men proposing to women in nursing school. Yeah, they do that a lot. They're looking for high-paying career women so they can latch onto them and leech off them. So women, we have to be very careful. Given that we are gaining independence and making money, men are re-strategizing. Men are very manipulative. It's all about control for them. Never forget this. They're always changing their strategy. The strategic nature of men that prey on women can't be underestimated. Women, we need to be vigilant. I can't stress this enough. Protect your assets and approach relationship with clear understanding of what you have to lose. If you would love to watch more videos like this, click this video to watch how men exploit women that lack knowledge and self-respect in relationship. Women that don't know how men are supposed to treat them in relationships. And I'll see you all in the next one.